We appreciate you joining us today here on In Focus Kentucky. We are continuing our conversation with Lois and Rosalind, who both represent the Kentucky chapters of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And once again, we appreciate you both for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And Rosalind, we'll talk with you some more about your role as a victim services specialist. For viewers that aren't aware of what that title means and what your role actually entails, explain that to us.
Well, it's actually all-encompassing. My role with MAD is to serve the victims, and that can mean anything, and usually it's within the criminal courts, in the justice system. So I work when an offender kills or injures an individual. Those people usually come to MAD for services, and that looks like they call us, we go to court with them, we help explain the judicial process. For a lot of victims, they have no idea what it means to be indicted or what it means to have a hearing, how juries are selected, and how that affects their case in Kentucky. So that's my job, to kind of work with them personally, very closely with those victims. And for a lot of the people, for a lot of our court officials who work within the judicial system, they have thousands, hundreds of cases, and usually cannot provide that one-on-one time that's what I'm there for, is to provide that time to repeat information if they need it repeated, to make sure that they have all the knowledge that they can as they enter that process of the criminal court system, which is long, tedious, sometimes it's unfair. So that is our job, to kind of be there with them through that entire process. And a lot of times, a lot of our victims, they have a need to work on behalf of MAD. All of the work that is done in the state of Kentucky, most of it is done by volunteers, people who are like Lois, who come in and they have a goal or a mission and they want to help MAD achieve it. So I help a lot of victims kind of transition from being a victim to a survivor and willing to tell their story, or willing to work on programs for awareness, for education services. And so, yeah, so it's kind of an all-encompassing position.
And Lois, one of MAD's taglines is "No More Victims."
Exactly.
So touch on what that exactly means.
Well, you know, when I first started in MAD, it was to reduce fatalities and injuries due to driving impaired. And then 2015, it became No More Victims. And we can't change what happened to our families. It's done. But we want to make sure that other families in the United States, that they do not have to walk in the shoes that we walk in as victims, survivors. And it's so important.
Well, Lois and Rosalind, we really appreciate your time, to both of you all, for joining us on In Focus Kentucky and sharing the information about your organization. But we will plan to bring you back in here to continue this conversation and go from there.
Thank you so very much for having us.
Absolutely. And we thank you for spending time with us today here on In Focus Kentucky. If you missed any of today's program, you can rewatch it online from the beginning and catch up also on past episodes of In Focus by visiting spectruminfocus.com. And while you're at it, you can also follow me on social media to stay informed on news and In Focus Kentucky updates all week long. Until next time, have a great week.